How are you? The Enzo Di Cosenzo podcast, and we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday on cost, price, volume material. Okay. So we left off yesterday here with this high-low method discussion, and let's get this just right. Okay, helps me out over there a little bit. Okay, so we're here like that. All right, so we did the highest and lowest levels of activity, and we computed variable cost based on this formula, and we had variable cost per unit, and fixed cost was variable cost per unit times units produced, and then you subtract that from the total cost to get the fixed. So we're just sort of repeating that this time through. Folks, I apologize. Let me get the book out. There it is, the accounting textbook. And I think it was the brine example. Yeah, Helena, we looked at. Yeah, Burns. Okay, and the question is compute the variable and fixed cost elements. So this is PDF 1020, and then estimate total cost of the company for 600. And the answers are there, but we want to work through how we're going to do this. Okay, and we have it here. You know, what the two questions are. Okay. So again, similar to the textbook, March, April, May, June, July, 98, 81. So the units are 9,800, 8,500, 7,000, 7,600, and 81. So you put your data in. And does it say what kind of manufacturing this is? This is data mix cost. Yeah, it doesn't say what they are. But and this is, we just read this, how to compute fixed costs, how to compute variable costs, how to use the highest and lowest levels of activity. It doesn't say what these guys are making, but they're making a couple, whatever these units are, and the prices. And again, your data is always important. And it's a little bit of a, I'm trying to find the word. We're entering data just by sort of typing it in. And the private deals I work on, that works. But if you're working for a portfolio manager or something where there's a big volume of data, you're going to need Bloomberg and download this stuff and all that. So, okay. Let's clear out the fill here. So we're going to look for maximum and minimum, and we're going to use those functions again. So we're going to use the max function, and we're going to designate that particular array to get us the 9,800. And this is the minimum function. And actually, this needs to get shifted up a bit like that. So you're 325 to 329 in terms of the rows. All right. Yeah, 325, 329. Those are your rows. Okay. And then we'll bring and what we can do is we can just do a right click and bring the same function over. The same function over. And actually, what we need to do, copy. We'll do paste formatting and make it black. All right, because you want to keep your formatting. You don't want to use number when it's accounting and things of that nature. Okay, so you found the biggest and the small. We can eyeball those for these kinds of examples, but we want to we want to use the functionality of Excel to help us here. All right, that we have. So you can do the variable cost by saying equals parenthesis. You're going to subtract like that. So that's 130 is what that is. Okay. And now you have these units produced. So what you'll do, like we did last time, and here, let's do it like this. Let's say equals product. This is going to float, and we're going to lock this guy. And let's go into this and fix everything here. So we're going to lock the row here, and we're going to lock the column there. And you can do this too. You can say Control D and then fix the formatting and get rid of the dollar. That's a way to do it. There's a couple ways you can bring the formula down or do formula copy or just fill down. Okay. So what is this? This is the rate per unit, the variable cost, and then times the number of units. So again, you drive 20 miles at $10 a gallon, or I'm sorry, you drive 20 miles at let's say it's $10. It's not, but let's say for let's say $1 a gallon. That's $20, right? 20 miles at $1 per gallon. That's 1980 prices or long ago. That's prices long ago, 1979, right? Those kinds of years. And with the fixed cost, so as we said in the notes, you're going to take the total cost minus the variable cost. Okay. Okay. And then you found the fixed. You found the 2,000 twice. Okay. You found 2,000 twice. You found it there, and you found it there. Okay. See, so, and again, just, the more computer sciencey folks out there, we can, the more computer science folks out there, we can understand these tables, something like this. But you might have to explain to people who maybe aren't so technically minded, right? And you're gonna have to say cost therefore. So you look for the common one. So all these other ones, you could reduce the size and the font so that they're not popping out as much. You can do something like that. Okay, so it's $1.30 per unit, and then total cost of $2,000 per month. Okay, so we use this formula: total cost is fixed cost times $1.30 per month. And what was the question here? The question was, so if you're at six, so none of these, none of those are 6,000. So let's type that in. 6,000, which is there. And then your total cost would be equal to, any of the 2,000s plus 130 times the 6,000. That's 9,800. That's the other answer. Okay, so that you answered those two questions. You computed a variable and fixed cost, and then you computed a total cost using the high-low method. For better or worse, like I said, this was the reason I sort of stretched this out into another video, is so you get to have this sort of again instead of just piled into the same video. Okay. Okay, so let's roll up to this, and we have about how many lines here we're going to work on? About 300 lines or so of model to, and then again, this is a nice use of your, this is here for me. It's Sunday morning in New York, so for me, it's a nice use of our time doing this. So cost, volume, profit analysis is the study of the effects of the changes in cost and volume on a company's profits. CVP analysis is important profit planning. It's a critical factor in such management decisions as setting selling prices, determining product mix, maximizing use of production facilities, all that stuff. The income statement here classifies cost as variable or fixed and computes a contribution margin. Is the amount of revenue remaining after deducting. So yeah, it's important to know, you're going to see that term a lot. You see contribution margin a lot, target income a lot, margin of safety a lot. So it's important to have a good grasp. And those are all very Warren Buffett-y terms. So when Warren Buffett is analyzing the microeconomics of his potential investments, he's looking at it like this, which is why we're going over this. Okay, not just because we like an accounting book. All right, so we're going to use this video. And again, these guys are dating themselves. You guys probably don't even remember this, but at one time, there was no Netflix or streaming services. There was nothing like that. So we're dating ourselves with these books. A video store was, see here, I'm always going back to these examples with these guys. Let's see. It was called a VCR recorder. There it is. This was a coveted piece of electronics to have in your house. Now you can buy them for about 150 or so. Sony was always, of course, the best one. It's funny, you can still buy them, but these things use a video cassette. And let me show you what a video cassette looked like. It was a big clunky thing. Let's get some images. Yeah, and I remember my mother buying. Yeah, here this was called a tape. This was a tape. We always said a tape. There was a movie on here. Okay, you guys probably never even saw anything like this. As I've mentioned in class a couple times, when I'm with different people out in the world, and I pull out a CD in my car, and the girl next to me says, "What is that?" And that was a medium. We didn't have MP3 files, and these things were on tapes, and they were audio cassettes, and these are video cassettes. And you would put it into this machine, and you could watch a movie on television. And now my mother, I just did it for her earlier this week. She likes The Princess. I don't even know what it is, but it's something called The Princess Diaries. It's a movie about 20 years ago, and I don't know where it's about in England. And my mother loves like fairy tale stuff, and I think Disney owns them. And I think a girl from Milburn, New Jersey, Anne Hathaway, I think her name was a young actor, and early in her career was a young. So she asked me to pick those up, and she said because she remembers the video machines and the cassettes and all these things, and she would say to me, she goes, "How do we have this movie?" And I'm trying to say to her, we got it through a streaming service because it's not always available on the cable network they have. Sometimes you have to buy it. So I bought them for her, and she's wondering how it's all working. But anyhow. But that's what these guys are. These guys are using this as an example. This is a video company will be used to illustrate the cost, volume, profit, income statement. And what you would do is there'd be a local video store, and you would go and rent these things for $1. These tapes $1 or $2, or Terminator and whatever the Star Wars movies and whatever the movies were popular of the day. I think by the time Titanic came out, they were dying. There was a local guy in Bloomfield who was like the big video guy. I forget his name, but he was, and there was a Mad Mike's. There's something called Mad Mike's, and I think they were in Bloomfield. So let's see if we could Mad Mike's. Let's see if we can get some. Oh boy, let's see if we can get some imagery of these guys. No, it was before anything. Yeah, I'm sure there's other Mad Mike's business. There's Mad Mike's Burgers, but these guys were made here. Let's do Mad Mike's, but this is probably way before internets and any of these kinds of things. Yeah, you're probably not even gonna go find it. But he was like the electronics seller of all this stuff in Essex County, and yeah, you can't. Yep, there's no pictures, no anything. That business, it's an accounting place now, but that business disappeared a long time ago. You couldn't even find it. You couldn't even find it. Wow, like it never existed. Like it's never existed. So, yeah, there's a Mike Bloomfield, but which I don't even know who that is. But, yeah. Anyhow, but he was the video. There was another one, but so yeah. So you walked in and you rented this stuff. Now I think with the Netflix, I think again a companion of mine from whenever was telling me that I send a request and they send me the DVD and I get it in the mail and I can watch it. I can send it back. It's all done by mail. But so again, these guys, this book was written a while ago, and if that's not obvious, and even the edition that I have, which is I think the 2012 edition, still has it was developed even before then. So a lot of these examples, we have to sort of explain it a little bit. But notice though, I took a few minutes in the lecture to explain the business, right? And it's not just the numbers. You want to understand, what is that you're analyzing. This is not just so I can tell you a story, from my childhood here. Okay, this is, we're trying to explain this business to you. So anyhow, there's what are we doing here? So we're gonna look at contribution margin. It says they produce a high definition digital a camcorder is a handheld camera recorder, that cam for camera and quarter for recorder, that you would hold in your hand and take video of things. There's optical zoom, there's a wide screen, and there's all sorts of electronic details. So they're selling these electronic. Now that's not the video, that's not the machine. The player. This picture that I showed you guys. These are the players. These are players. But let's see. Do the cam, and now your phone has it now, but at one time you had something like this. You held it in your hand, and you could go to giant games, and people go to the Meadowlands and record, like, whatever, the Rolling Stones, performing at Giant Stadium or something long ago, or whatever it was, or down in Atlantic City. And certainly I think it depended on the band, but and now the cops have these body cameras, these mini cameras. That's all these kinds of things are out there. There's pen cameras and all this ridiculousness. But it's something like this, right? It's Canon and Sans, all the big Japanese electronic firms, make something like this. But that's what a camcorder is. But now you can do. But certainly the capability. Look, we can take videos with our phones, but the capability of a camcorder is much better than your phone. It's a novelty to be able to take a video with your phone or something like that. But it's certainly better to have a camcorder. Certainly a better option, to put to put it mildly. So anyway, so these things are being sold for I don't know if they're 500 any longer. Are they still 500? Not putting prices here. This thing is $7. Yeah, this is 200. Yeah, the handheld one is 200. So yeah, the prices went down. But I'm sure the higher end ones, I'm sure you could spend a good amount on this stuff. It's the electronics that make it, what you're getting out of the electronics. There's variable costs in producing these things of 300, and then the facility in Japan or in upstate New York is 200,000. And the units sold, I don't know if it's a month. Yeah, I guess per month would be 1,600. Let's get rid of the fill. And what you could do here, you can do something like this and get rid of the dollar signs if you want. And here's your beginnings of income statements now. And again, this is what people will pay you to understand. I'm always going to say that often. 1,600 units of these things being sold. The per unit cost is 500. The variable cost is 300. So you're going to net out by just subtracting them. So you're selling for 500, and you're selling for 500, and your variable costs are 300. Fixed costs are coming. Fixed costs I think we have as 200,000, not 2 million, 200,000. And obviously, so your contribution margin, so after your variable cost, your contribution margin is 200. Okay. And now what's going to be useful to us here is to do the product here equals. You have to, for some reason, you have to click on the double click on the icon. It's going to be 1,600, comma, the 500. Okay. So the 1,600, you're going to lock the row, and these you want to lock the column. All right. So what comes in the door, again, this is the manufacturer, not the retailer, not Mad Mike's, right? It's the Fuji in Japan or Sony in Japan. All right. They're selling to the retailer for $500, and the retailer's probably selling it for $1,000. And again, we're talking probably when these problems, this model was made maybe 20 years ago. So, and then it's costing the Japanese, you could say copy Alt HV formula, and there's your 480, right? 1600 and then the 300. And notice how I use smart use of these. The dollar sign locks the row and the column. So if you're going to lock the 1600, you're going to lock the column. Okay. And this is simply the difference. And Alt HV formula. And this is you're just subtracting them. And you have accounting format. Fixed costs are 200,000. So your net income, which you can just easily add those. You have to worry about the sum formula. Yeah, oops, pardon me. I added them. What am I doing? I said subtract. So what's wrong with me? Subtraction. All right. Sunday morning, folks. Sunday morning. Okay. Whoops. So actually, this is the negative one. 320 minus 200,000. Sorry. Okay, is that? That's your beginning income. Now again, folks who took me last semester, or if you're in the macro course or the micro course, this is equal. This is more of a micro topic. So we're starting a little more micro, and then we're going to transition into the macro material as the semester moves forward. We'll use the December central bank notes, and we'll pick that up. Maybe the spring break. After the spring break, we'll pick up working on that. But again, I want you to have some experience working with, an income statement, a very simple one, but an income statement, and understanding contribution margin. You won't in financial accounting. You're not going to see variable. You're not going to see cost broken up as variable cost and fixed cost. You're not going to see it like that. It's just going to be selling. It's just going to be under expenses and depreciation and selling and general administrative and things of that nature, and receivables. That's how financial accounting works that way. There's no contribution. I mean, you can do this on the side. Okay, your own. Again, that's the point of your own models. You get the data from the SEC documents or from the company, and then you move forward with your own analysis. So also we could look at contribution margin per unit, and there's a bunch of formulas in here. I don't have any of these memorized. Okay, but you guys can work through these, and unit selling price minus that makes sense, right? The contribution margin is the unit selling price and unit variable cost. The contribution margin per unit would be the selling price in the denominator and contribution margin per unit in the numerator, and that's a contribution margin ratio, is what that is. And like I said, you can go bananas with this stuff. So we looked at the 1600 unit version here. There's another version here where it's 1,000 units. So I'm up here at 1,000 units. Okay. And we have the same, this is the same. So I can just copy these and bring them down. I can just do that. Fixed income is the same 200, which is there. And this might be your break even somehow. So yes, it's 200 per unit. The ratio is 200 per unit, and your fixed costs are 200,000. So to get the 1,000, what you would do is you would say equals fixed cost divided by. So that's how you get 1,000 on the nose. That's how you get your 1,000. You take the fixed cost divided by your contribution margin. In other words, what's left after variable costs, and you did it at the unit level is what you did. Okay. And now what you can do, and here, just to make life, somewhat easier here, you can just take this whole story, drop it here, and what are we going to do? That's 500, which is fine. This is now 72. Row 72. Whoops. 71. Pardon me. And that's 71 also. Save your work as you go. And you see you're netting out at a break even now. So this is almost our initial break even example. Okay, so in other words, so you reduced the units you're selling from 1,600 down to 1,000, and so your profit, this goes to zero. And and again, we figured out exactly how to do that by taking the fixed income divided by the contribution margin ratio, and got that 1,000 units, and then computed our income statement and got to in other words, break even. We're break even right now. Okay, and like I said, this was a blank. This was a blank Excel sheet, is what this stuff was. Okay, I put everything in here, the titles and the math and all that stuff. Okay, so this is as follows: every camcorder sold above 1,000, net income increases 200. Okay, they sold. Now another example here is if, and what you can do. Uh, Now you can type in 1,001 of these. You still have actually what you can do with all of these. You can take the whole thing here, because now this is just a repeat. Go to sales, drop it in. This is going to be no longer 71. This is going to be 91. And this will be 91, not 71. Row. And there you go. There's your two. So in other words, you sold one past your break even, and you made your 200, which was your contribution margin, and that was your contribution margin for per electronic device that you sold, or per unit that you sold. So you have three of these. You have the 1,600 sort of just shooting into the air, a little more focused at 1,000, which is the break even, and then one past 1,000. Now you have 1,001 units being sold, and what does your net income look like? Okay. And now we're going to get to, we want the formula here. It says the formula for the contribution margin ratio is going to be the margin per unit divided by the selling price. And we could do any of these. We can take it from here. 200 is obviously be 40%. So 40% means that 40 cents of each sales dollar goes to fixed costs and contributes to net income. So in other words, once you've paid off your fixed cost, now you're the income part. And again, this is all Warren Buffett material. And actually, just while we're making this lecture, I didn't do this yet, so Roger Stein books. Yeah, these are all. Here's Warren Buffett, the guys up in Greenwich, long-term capital management. That's their story. Wall Street culture, central banking, the dot-com bust. Roger Lowenstein worked for the Wall Street Journal for years. He went to Cornell, and now I think he's on a board somewhere of a fund, and that pays him enough, I suppose, to not write for the Journal anymore. And this is funding the Civil War. This is about the central bank. This is about Wall Street culture, pensions, the 20-year, not the 2008, but this is the 99-2000 bubble, just before September 11. These last two I taught at my previous school. I taught long-term capital management and what Warren Buffett did. Okay, or and this is Buffett's life up to 1995. The guy did another 30 years past that. Who knew, right? I mean, he probably didn't even. That's a whole other career past when this book was written. So you can't predict, but this is a good look. See, it says RogerLowenstein.com books. You can get these all from Amazon. They're all reasonably priced. Okay, so please spend a little bit of time on this. Okay, very good. This is very good reading. And I'll try to at NJCU. I'll try to integrate some of this stuff as we go along here. So, all right. Yeah. So what's left after covering? After we covered variable costs, what's left for fixed costs? And then after you covered fixed costs, you're all profit after that. So sales increase 100,000, income will increase by 40,000. And now you could get fancy. We're going to use the ratio. If you just go back to these income statements and try to figure out, whatever your questions are, try to figure out the answer to your question. You have to memorize a whole list of I don't have these formulas memorized. memorize. Okay, I don't. I know, obviously, I know how to explain it, but you know, I don't have this stuff memorized. Okay, because it's just, you know, you want to look again, depending on the conversation that you're having with people, and also you can't talk over people. You can't just try to give an appearance of how smart you are in a sense. Also, it's important to know what you're talking about, but also you have to know your audience too. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. Okay, not just run around and say, "Oh, well, look how smart I am." That's not going to impress, you know, many people. So keep that in mind. Okay, you want to be able to answer your question in a way that people understand you, and like that's enough, you know, kind of a thing. Sort of the just enough version of things. So 100,000. Yeah, we looked at that, and then it says current sales are 500,000. Were they 500,000? Yeah, they were 500,000. And what's the effect of 100,000 increase in sales? So yeah, let's look at that. Okay, so how do we get to everything here? So all right, let's just in a little efficiency of use here. Let's pull out our per unit numbers. Sales, paste, paste. Okay, this is total, and this is per unit. All right, we have that. Fixed cost 200,000. All right, so we have some basic stuff there. Okay, here we can type in 1,000. We're selling 1,000 units, 1,200 units. Which is all that. Okay. I want to do some smart maneuvering with this stuff here. So here, let me pull off the formulas here. Copy, and let's just drop these in as formulas and not all the formatting. Formula only. Okay, now let's work with this. So 500 is good, and we're looking at 130. There's, you know, here's these numbers. So this is just the delta, the difference here. Okay. And this is going to be equal to what you're contributing minus the fixed, and you get 0 out of that. Okay, and now right next to it, again, somehow boosting, and we'll just drag that right there, boosting your, and this is going to be double A. Yeah, you're boosting your production by 200 by 20%. Right there. All right, and hit escape. And this is down 1. There's your 12. There's what it looks like at 1,200. Right there. Okay. So now you're at 600,000. Your per unit numbers are the same. Your fixed costs are the same, but your net income now is 40,000 more. And I think we may have said that up here someplace. Yeah. So if the contribution margin is 40%, so for each dollar of sale, it's 40 cents more, and you're talking about $100,000 more in sales. Okay, that's how you get. So 100,000 times 40 cents more is 40,000. Okay, but again, that's, see, people love, oh, I just can use the ratio and sensitivity analysis. I'm a big proponent of just redoing the model. and not saying, oh, well, this person, because you're going to, I mean, it's good to check and say, oh, well, if this, is a sort of a self-check for you. Okay. But you want to be able to recompute these models. And also, and if you notice what the sort of the format looked like here, I'll just pick this one here. You want the title and what kind of a statement it is and the ending dates. You want all that detail. Okay. So the detail that you work on it. Also, it's not just the math here. It's how you present your whole argument here. You have to think like a lawyer, like you're in court. Because you're separating people from $1 billion or something like that. Okay, from quite a lot of money. So you want to just be careful and aware, what that entails. Okay. All right, so we're going to keep going with this. So we look at this one. Now we're up to official and the official and formal break-even analysis part of this this discussion here. Level of activity, total revenues equal total cost. That's break even. The company will realize no income but will suffer no loss. The process of finding the break even point is called break even analysis. Just a little cleanup here. Break even point. I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. I apologize for taking a little house cleaning break there. You want the mathematical equation, you want to use a contribution margin, and then you can use a graph to determine break-even points. And this is across many courses, so it's good that you're getting my sort of take on this. And if you look here, this equation, this very basic equation: variable cost, fixed cost, and then what your income would be. So we take a sort of a step further with this. I remember this in math books. The net income wasn't in there. It was just variable cost. I think my calculus book may have had this when I taught at Rutgers. Okay, so always keep that in mind. That you always want to read the same topics in a couple different books and see different people's sort of perspective on this. All right, so this is cost volume profit analysis. Break even occurs when sales equal variable costs plus fixed costs. Okay. So you have this. Okay, so this is taking the algebra approach. This is back to Smith Hall at Rutgers now. What it would look like if I was teaching this there. It would be 500Q equals, the selling price, 300Q is Q's quantity of units of electronic equipment, is your variable cost, 200,000 fixed cost, and then break even would be net income would be 0. And if you brought this 300Q over to the left, it's 500 minus 300 is 200. This is 0, so you're left with 200, and 200,000 divided by 200 is 1,000. So what you would do with this, how did I do it here? Did I do it? Yeah, I hate hard coding this stuff, but we could even do it like this. Up here, 200,000 divided by 200, something like that. That'll give you 1,000. And then this equals 500 times your 1,000. All right, something you can do that. Okay, and then you have a very physicsy calculus version of this where you label everything: selling price, variable costs, and you should be able to think. This is a model, folks, and you should be able to think like this. Okay, and this will help you, and this will spill out in all of your conversations. If you're good at this, it'll be very obvious to people. This we just did the formula here: 1,000 times 500 is the break-even sales dollars. Okay, we looked at that. Contribution margin technique is next. So this is after variable cost, what's left. The contribution margin must equal the total fixed costs, okay. So revenues less variable costs is the contribution margin. So this is fixed cost divided by the contribution margin per unit. Yeah, so this is just, again, a repeat of what we did here. This is that 200,000 divided by whatever that was. Yeah, this is your 200,000. We're just repeating ourselves here, but that's okay. Divided by the contribution margin, and there's your 1,000. Okay. And it says a way to interpret this is the manufacturer generates $200 of contribution margin for every unit that it sells, and the 200 goes to pay off fixed costs until the 200,000 is covered, and then after that you're in the black, right? Not the red, as the accountants would say. After 1,000 units, so your 1,000 and first unit, you're making a profit, or you have a net income. So if this is 40%, if the margin is 40, did we put up here 40% someplace? Here, I could even do it here. All right, 200 by 500. And let's format this. This is percentage. You want one decimal place, center. Okay. You could do that. Well, you can make it italics, and you could shrink this a bit. So that's just 200 over 500 is what that is. That's that 40%. And so in other words, your revenue, you have to get to the revenue of 500,000 to break even. That's what we're saying here. Yeah, here's the 200 over 5. We did that up there. So let's do 200,000 here divided by 40%, and there's your 500,000. No. Yeah, this is a question in this is just sort of an in-chapter question. Well, let's take a look at this. Charter flights, and I don't have the numbers for this, but it says there's an internet is ringing inefficiencies out of nearly every industry. This is page 1025 or the PDF 1025. Commercial aircraft spend 4,000 hours in the air, and charter aircraft spend a lot of time sitting at Teterboro or the Essex County Airport or the Morris County Airport. They're sitting on the ground 90% of the time. FlightServe saw a business opportunity in the fact that for the same cost as a first-class ticket, FlightServe could decide to match up executives with charter flights and small private jets. They'd get a more comfortable ride, could avoid the hassle of a big airport, and they would note the average charter jet has 8 seats. So they're almost turning it into a commercial flight, in a sense, how I read this. When all the seats are full, they have 80% profit margin, and they break even at 3.3 full seats per. Now, and so in other words, they computed, as we just did here, it says they computed a break-even point where they took fixed cost divided by the contribution margin per seat, and then they got the break-even point in seats or sales. Okay, so they did the same. But again, we don't have those numbers. We're just sort of talking about it, which always makes me nervous to do that. But okay, because we like a number. I like a number. So okay. Yeah. So so now we're going to generate this table. We'll have a graph, and that'll be it. That'll be it for today. So we'll spend another another few minutes on this, and you guys can get ready for the Buffalo game tonight. So I have profit loss in here. So here, let's look at some units sold. I don't know. What do we do? I typed in a 0. When I said equals, that's 0 plus 200 units at a time of these camcorders. I'll say Control D. So you went down to 2,000 units. That's 2,000 units, which is there. The variable cost per unit is 300. Fixed cost 200,000 from previous. And this is, we're just going to equal that 200,000 the whole way. All right, is this. This is this whole thing here. So we know what the units are being sold, and we also know our revenue, we'll say equals, you could refer to it, but I'm just going to type in 500. Actually, here, let's do like this. Product 100. And then what you can do is you can lock in your column, Control C, and then you can bring your formula, Alt HV formula. Okay, you brought your formula down. So in other words, you're selling all of these units for $500 each to your retailer, who's probably charging us $1,000 or more. Okay. And here, let's what were the price of camcorders in the year 2000? Let's look at that price. Okay, well, again, these accountants, and maybe not having the experience that maybe they should have, who wrote this book, they seem to have used, because I suspect this book was written about 20 something years ago, 25 years ago. They took the retail price of a camcorder to the consumer. Okay, Walmart does not have a variable cost in selling these camcorders. Okay, I mean, you could look at it in the sense of, Walmart bought it from a Japanese electronics firm, but then how are their fixed costs in that? It's the way they set the problem up is murky. The way it's set up is that it's coming from the manufacturer. Okay, that's the way that problem was set up. Now, that cost, if these are retail selling for 500, okay. Yeah, here. Yeah, okay, this was okay. No, this was 3,000. Okay, so yeah, this okay. So they did okay with this. If the retail price was 500, that was a mistake. No, because now, yeah, that makes right. Because if you're buying for 500, believe me, the markup could be 2, 3, 4 times. Even Walmart's and the Costco's and whatever it might be. Okay, so it's good to have these little nostalgic looks back at what's going on. And you want your problems to make sense. So we looked at it like this. Yeah, this is for digital camcorders, and this will be equal to, actually, we'll do it like this, Control right. This will be 300 instead of 500. Control D. Okay, there's your variable costs now. And we'll explain what's highlighted and why and all this stuff. Okay, so you got your variable costs, you got your revenues coming in, and we're doing this in table form. And the fixed cost per unit, well, if there's no units here, you can't do that one. So this is going to be equal to the 200,000 divided by the units sold, which is 200. Yeah, this should all be accounting here. Obviously, the more of these you sell, the lower the fixed cost moves. And someone erroneously in class said, "Oh, it gets bigger." I don't know what the logic for that was, but somebody in class had said that to me. So, oh well. We'll look at profits and losses in a second. So you have total variable costs, total fixed costs. You're gonna add these up. Total variable cost plus total fixed cost is here. And you're just going to take this thing, Control D. There you go. Okay. There's your total cost is there. All right. So you have your and there's probably various discussions in the book where we looked at some of these numbers, and we'll sort of get to it. Certainly, the one we're going to care a lot about is the 1,000, right? What's happening at 1,000 here? Right, we're going to care a lot about that one. It's bold. Okay. That's what revenues equal costs. That's your break even is there. And actually, I want to do profit and loss. So this will be equal to what comes in, the revenue, subtracting the total cost. And you can go all the way down with this Control D. Which is there. Okay. You can even bold. So obviously that's your break even. Right? That's how you know you have a break even is right there. And probably in the chapter, the reasons there's some other highlights here. Probably in the as we progress through the chapter, some of these other numbers are discussed or asked about or something like that. But for right now, what we have is the break even. Okay, so 500,000 comes in, 500,000 cost, 1,000 units sold, 0. So, but again, you generating a table like this, people will pay you to do this, and I keep saying things like that. Okay. And actually, we're going to stop after we make the graph. We're going to, because actually, this is just another. I think this is just another repeat of what we just did for whatever reason. I don't know why I did it again somehow, but I somehow did. But again, the model is here. I like to repeat myself sometimes. We want to make a graph. Okay, so let's do that. I want to make this graphic for you guys. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So. But yeah, generating this table is something you should be able to sit down and do that. Okay, so let's do the sales function first. The sales function, now we can be sort of cute about this. Again, I've mentioned to you guys in Excel, if you go from left to right in this particular manner, this column, the left column will be your x-axis, this will be your y-axis. So I can just write up here, x-axis, y, like that. You can center, make them smaller. Okay, so if I just do that, then I go to insert, charts, line with the markers. There you go. And we're going to do a lot of things with this. We're going to put the company's name up here. Okay, spell it right. Okay, you can put a nice font in that. Maybe make it bold. Okay, you can do that. You can even put a border around this thing, outline. Nice border around it. Okay. You can click on the box here, axis titles. This bottom one, this is units of and you can pick a nice font, I don't know, a nice gray or something like that. You always want these to be a little less out there. And these are 9. Okay. I'm checking the font. Those are 9. Okay. Yeah. You could also make, to make a black out of this. Do that. Okay. The other one is going to be US dollars. Okay. You have that. Right click on the marker, format the data series. I think it's the first one. Markers, options, built in, reduce it, fill, solid. Let's pick our Wall Street color, line, solid, Wall Street color, Wall Street blue. Okay. Unfortunately, you have to go back and just do outline in the heavy blue once again and get rid of it. So there's the line, the outline of the marker, then the marker fill itself. Okay. And we could change the colors. Well, let's leave it as that. And also, let's go to the grid lines, right click, grid line, solid line, half a point, dash it. The color should be maybe a gray, something like that. Okay, right click, grid line, solid, half, dash it. And the outline here, this might be a gray. Yeah, the bottom gray. Okay. All right, we have more to do now. Take this, cut it, drop it here, paste it. What else? Let's do legend. Oh. Okay, click there, click on this, chart design, select data, edit. So this will be sales function. Yeah, I use sales function. Okay. Let's do another one. And here, let's make this a little bit bigger as you're working on it. The units here, that's the defaults are okay. You can do, instead of 500, you could do maybe 300, something like that, right? What will 200 look like? 200. Okay. This thing, 100,000. Right click, select data. You're going to add. Your x-axis will be the units sold. The y-axis will be total fixed, not the unit one. We're not doing the unit graph. This is total. And this is fixed costs function. For this one, you don't need the dots for this. So you can just go to format the data series, click on the first one, marker options, none. Okay, like that. That's your fixed cost function, is that. Now you can do variable. You can add another one, variable cost function. Select data, add variable costs function. Your X is here, and your variable total variable cost is there. Hit OK, and then OK again. You don't want that gray in there, so maybe you can do. We did a green for this for some reason, so let's do green. Fill, do green, outline, do a green, and that's it. Yeah, the fill in the outline. And again, you want to make these a little, the markers built in down. Okay. And then what's left is total cost function. Right click, select data, add total cost. Again, folks, go through all the steps with me as I do this. Go through all the steps. Units sold, total cost. And okay, and hit okay there. And this is built in. Okay. But there you go. And you can change this with this purple or something. And the outline here, you can maybe make that purple of the whole graph, something like that. Okay. You can, now these colors clash a bit, but we'll let you guys work on that. And then down here, your break-even intersection total cost and total revenue line. Yeah, here's your 1,000. See, is right there. Here's total cost. Sales functions total is the blue one. So it's the blue and the orange one. No, the blue and the yellow one colliding. The orange one is fixed income. But right there, there's your 1,000, just like we had in the table. So see, now you have a graph. So this is powerful. That this also explains what you're talking about. Okay, you have a nice, and then down here, I think it's just the math. This is the x coordinate, the y coordinate. X is 1,000, y is 500,000. You saw that. The break-even point is from the intersection of the total cost and the total revenue line. Draw horizontal line from the break-even to the vertical axis. Vertical and horizontal lines to the break-even point. Okay, that we know. Okay, now we have a formula here again, and this is just simply a repeat. I don't know what possessed me to repeat this stuff down here, but so yeah, this is just equal to 200, 1, 2, 3, divided by 200,000 divided by 200, and this equals 500 times the 1,000. Yeah, that's just a repeat. I think we had this up here previously, right? I think that was a redo somehow. Yeah, I did it again. I don't know why. I did it twice. I apologize for that, folks. But okay. For some, I like to say, oh, well, where is it? I'm always that I always sort of overdo it rather than underdo it. Okay, so I think we had a nice Sunday discussion, and we'll pick up another one of these, a similar. I don't want to just redo this, but we'll do a similar model here for the next video. I don't know when that'll be, but the next video, hopefully soon. And then we have a rolling. So we have at least two more. We have the Rolling Stone version here that I want to talk about, plus some other material down here. Okay, so there's at least two more, and then the comprehensive problem will be the third video. The next one will be third, and there's a lot of material there. And then we'll start. The appendix will be number 4, self-test 5, question 6, brief exercises 7, review is 8, exercise is 9. That might be 2 parts. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Well, there you go. Okay, so you had your whole discussion today. Here, so from here, we'll just slowly, ratchet this up a bit. Your net income is 0 for break even. Also, the profit area is bigger than 1,000. The loss area is less than 1,000 units. So maybe we had a little more detail on this than maybe I previously had up here. I didn't have all that detail. So here I gave you a little bit. And again, as folks, as I'm doing this too, I say, oh, well, this makes sense. And I think we define things a little bit better here. Yeah, we did a little more with the formulas here. Let's look at these equations. This is the sales equation, the variable cost equation. This is a function of Q, a function of Q, a function of Q, even though Q is 0 here. And this is also a function of Q. So we had a little more with the mathematics here. Okay. So you guys can take a good look at that. But again, think like this. Think like these tables and these, think like this. It's going to pay off for you very well in your, this is going to pay off very well in your careers. Okay. And again, the areas where the loss area is less than, so from Q smaller, everything here on this side is losses, everything on this side is a gain. So we characterize things a little bit better. Folks, thank you. Thank you, folks. We'll see you soon.